Hi everyone! My big 2025 journal planner and sketchbook lineup video turned out to be so long that I broke it into 3 parts. So this video is part 2 and it covers some of my absolute favorite kinds of journals to keep, including my fiction freewrite journal, plus a bunch of my project notebooks and my world building sketchbook. This is going to be my travel journal when I start traveling again. 2024 was going to be the year that I was going to start traveling again. Again, things didn't really work out the way that I was expecting in 2024. So one of the things I like to do with my journals sometimes is some of my journals, like my diary, like I write in them all the time. I write in them really regularly. Sometimes I will start a journal knowing that for the time being, I'm not going to be writing in it very regularly. But it's a way for me to give something, a project, or in this case, traveling, kind of a notebook home before I actually start working on it seriously, or before I have a lot of time to dedicate to it. And I like to do that because for me, a lot of times starting a notebook for something is like a sign that I'm committed to it. Generally, things in my life that I take seriously and put a lot of time into have notebooks. I have a notebook for it. And you'll see that more as I move into my project notebooks. And so sometimes when there's something, like you'll see in a minute, like my music notebook. I have not been doing music this year either. However, it's something that I know I want to do more of. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do like a lot of traveling before the PhD was done. I was hoping I was going to be able to do a little, but I knew I wouldn't be able to do a ton. But I wanted to start a travel journal just to make note of places that I did want to visit and possible itineraries and ideas that I had for trips. Just sort of remind myself that like I wasn't going to be in grad school forever and I was going to enter a new phase of life and things were going to change and I would have time to travel sometime soon. So that's the purpose of this notebook. So there's hardly anything in there, but hopefully there will be more, and it's sort of a placeholder for travel. This is a book I talked about, I think, when I was going through my bullet journal. This is what I'm calling my book of lists. It's another Leuchtturm 1917. It's like this weatherproof edition. I love the cover so much. It's got all this texture. Leuchtturm covers usually don't. And it's very heavy paper inside because I think it's supposed to be waterproof. I haven't tested it. I don't know if it is, but it's nice heavy paper inside, dot grid. Let's see. I've made like some lists. I should talk about what's going on with the lists. Basically, when I first started keeping bullet journals, I would have a lot of fun lists inside of my bullet journal. So it wouldn't just be what I described earlier in the video. It wouldn't just be kind of serious daily to-do lists and monthly to-do lists. There were also like fun things, like, you know, my 12 favorite horror movies, my 13 favorite Halloween movies, 10 books I really want to read. You know, there were a lot of like fun lists. So one of the things I realized when I was going back through some of my older bullet journals, like bullet journals from like 2017, 2018, there were so many fun lists in there and aspirational lists and, you know, and I realized that over time, as I've developed like this kind of complicated journaling practice, but also stuck to this core pragmatic, like 1 or 2 books where the important stuff goes, a lot of the fun had kind of drained out of my bullet journal. And I was sort of at peace with that because, again, keeps me focused, keeps me organized. But I did miss the fun lists because, as I said, I love fun lists. So I got this little notebook. These are stickers from Sticky. I love it. It's so cute. And this is where fun, aspirational, pie in the sky, maybe one day kind of lists go. So some of the lists in here are like, if I had the time to learn 20 languages and the ability to learn 20 languages, like which 20 would I want to learn, right? And so crazy aspirational things like that. And some of them are not aspirational. They're just like, here are my 13 favorite Halloween movies or something. So like I have some stuff in here about languages. And yeah, it's the book of lists. It's fun. It's totally frivolous, but I like having it around because my bullet journals are no longer particularly frivolous at all. I will be keeping the book of lists in 2025. I'll be keeping the journals, these journals that I just talked about in 2025. 2 that I want to work in a lot more, and I mean a lot more, in 2025 are my fiction freewrite journal and my poetry journal. So I'll talk about the fiction freewrite journal first, because that I've been actually writing in regularly. Sometime in, I think, 2021, I think it would have been, yeah, I think it would have been 2021. I had this realization. I was in grad school, I was teaching my own classes, working on my dissertation, like really in the thick of like advanced grad student life. And I was keeping a bunch of journals, as you can see, you know, dream journal, gratitude journal, all the journals. And I had this sort of moment of realization. And I thought, you know, I love fiction writing. Like, I love nonfiction, I love research, but I love fiction writing. Fiction writing is like one of my oldest, like I've been, you know, a NaNoWriMo girl. You know, I love fiction writing since I was a kid. And I realized, you know, I have all of these journals, all of these daily writing practices, and I don't have a daily fiction writing practice. And at the time, I knew it wasn't pragmatic for me to be working on a novel. I was already planning to start my nonfiction book. So I knew I was going to be working on, or I had plans to start work and to pitch that book. And I was working on a dissertation and I was teaching. So I knew that actually like working on a novel, like having a serious long form fiction project was not reasonable for me at that time. I was kind of waiting for a few things to happen before I sort of dove back into writing a novel seriously. But I also felt like I just said, if I take something seriously, I tend to have a notebook for it. It has a physical home in a book somewhere. And I was like, I don't have one single book for fiction right now. I have no fiction writing notebook. So I decided, I got this set of, these are Moleskine cahiers. They came, cahier, whatever. Set of 3, lined inside, just ruled. And I picked up this, it was late 2021, and I decided I'm just going to do like a daily fiction free write. So not like a free write like I would do in my diary where it's like, here's what's going on, here's what's up, here's what I've been thinking and feeling. It has to be fiction, so it can't be like from my point of view. It has to be a fictional story. But it can be any fictional story. It can be a slice of something random. I can just sit down and decide to write about a goblin. Doesn't matter the genre, doesn't matter the quality, but I'll just like set a timer and write fiction for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever I have. And so I call these kind of like my fiction free write notebooks or fiction free write journals. And this was the first one, which I filled. I started this sometime, I guess, late 2021. And then when did I finish it? Finished it sometime in 2022. I don't know how many pages there are in here, and I'm not going to open it up because there's absolute insanity. I love these notebooks. I adore them. I have more fun in these notebooks than in like a bunch of my other journals combined. So this is volume 1. I finished it back in 2022. This is volume 2. This I painted on the cover. These are like photos and stickers. That's Mab Graves. She was raising money for Ukraine at some point, and so I bought this sticker and like downloaded it and put it on the cover. So that's Mab Graves. And then these are just old paintings that I put on the cover. This I painted on the cover myself. Called it Cauldron of Ideas. I don't know why. I'm almost done this one. It's been sort of slow going because this is the one I was working in when I was working on my book and finishing my dissertation and for this last crazy year. So progress hasn't exactly been quick, but I have actually recently started. I really kind of dropped the fiction free writing for a little while there when things were crazy, but I picked it back up recently, and oh my god, I want to do a video specifically about these notebooks because I have so much fun in them. Like, so much fun. It's like the best 15 minutes of my day a lot of times. I really do mean that. So this notebook is almost done. I'll also paste ideas in here, I will say. If I get an idea, and I write it in the mini planner, later I'll copy it into here, or if I write something on a sticky note, I'll just paste the sticky note in here. So I have a couple of, I have a couple of pages left. So I'm going to wrap this up maybe between now and January 1st, but probably I'm going to wrap this up. Yeah, we'll see. So I'm going to be finishing this and working in volume 3. I haven't decorated the cover yet. It's new and beautiful. Soon it will be full, like its older siblings. And yeah, so I'm really excited to work in my fiction free write notebook. This is my poetry journal. This is yet another Peter Popper Press. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. I have absolutely no official affiliation with them. I just buy all of their notebooks. The poetry journal is another one of those notebooks that I really, really, really want to spend more time working on poetry, but lately I just haven't been. I'll also say I've been writing some more like poetry inspired by mythology and devotional poetry, and that has gone in like the witchy, spiritual tarot planner. So some of the poetry that I've been writing has gone in here. But in general, I just haven't been writing much poetry. So there's not a lot in here at all. You can see I like barely, I mean, what is that? Like 10 pages, 12 pages, 14 pages, something like that. And this is a big book. This is one of Peter Popper Press's really big ones. Like, is it the same size as this? Yeah, it's the same. It's like the same dimensions, but I think there's more pages. Maybe not, but I think there's more pages in there. So, and it's the unicorn tapestries. That's the cover. It's very beautiful. So I'm hoping to put together a poetry collection soon. And when that happens, I'll probably, if I'm serious about that and I actually do that, I'll probably fill a bunch of pages pretty quickly, because poetry, obviously, I don't write wall of text. There's like a lot of blank space. I'm not showing anyone though my poetry. My poetry is messy and chaotic. But it's easier to fill pages in a poetry journal. It's like faster because I don't do it wall of text. I'll have like lines and space and I'll cross things out. So when I do write poetry in here, I fill a lot of pages pretty quickly, but obviously haven't been doing much of that. It is so beautiful though. It's so, so beautiful. So yes, this year, since I do not have another nonfiction book under contract, so I'm currently not doing any nonfiction seriously right now. No long form nonfiction anyway. No second nonfiction book that I'm working on seriously at the moment. I really want to be serious about daily fiction, and I don't know about daily poetry. Maybe I'll pick a month and do daily poetry for that month. Poetry for me is kind of an intense writing experience. Like the daily fiction free write can be really fun and loose. Poetry I find like more draining than other forms of writing. I love it. It does something very important for me, but it's also very draining. And so I don't think I would ever try to write poetry every single day for a year. But I could see myself taking a month and writing poetry every single day for that month, or writing almost every day once I'm seriously working on a poetry collection. Okay, 2 tiny books that I'm just going to share before I move into like project notebooks and things like that are these little guys. I don't remember anything about. I got these at like a Japanese bookstore somewhere. I don't really know the brand name or anything like that, but they're little bitty notebooks, little bitty lined notebooks. This one is like a fashion and style notebook. So basically, there's 2 reasons I use notebooks this size. We'll talk about this one first. This one I'm calling the Book of Whimsy. I know it's ridiculous, but I'll get into why. But this is the Book of Whimsy. The ridiculously titled Book of Whimsy. And it's just a little notebook. I'm almost halfway through it, so I've just been writing, like, this is me talking about different art practices and what I can do in what amount of time. I'm not going to get into that. But the point of the Book of Whimsy was, earlier this year, someone in my family got a very kind of serious medical diagnosis, and I've been going with them to all of these medical appointments, hospitals. We were going to a hospital out of town. Incredibly stressful period, and I wanted a notebook to write in, and obviously like my serious notebook, you know, my bullet journal and my planner were coming with me. But those specifically, like, I don't put a lot of fun things in, as I've now mentioned about 95 times. So, and my fun books, you know, these more creative fun things, I couldn't bring them in my suitcase. There was too much going on. It was too much stress to pack them. I was worried about leaving them somewhere. And so I wanted something that was just like a notebook that was sort of that I could put literally anything in. Like if I had poetry come to mind, I could put poetry in it. If I wanted to draw, I could just draw in it. If I wanted to make a fun list, I could do that. If I wanted to write a snippet of fiction, I could do that too. So that's where I came up with the Book of Whimsy, and I titled it that because I was at a point in my life where nothing felt whimsical at all, and I wanted something that felt kind of fun and frivolous and whimsical. So that's how the Book of Whimsy was born, and I could literally I have another notebook that is not part of this video that's like a medical notebook for my family member who has been ill, and I'm keeping track of their appointments and diagnosis and all of that kind of thing. And it's a big notebook and has a pocket at the back. It's another Moleskine, I think. And I could just literally stick the entire Book of Whimsy in that back pocket. So the big book would be like the big medical notebook, but then I could pull the Book of Whimsy out. And it was sort of like a travel version of all of the others. If I wanted to write gratitude, if I had a weird dream while we were staying out of town, anything, like any of the other notebooks could potentially go in here. And I could just leave it in here, or I could copy, like if I got home and I'd written a dream in the Book of Whimsy, I could copy the dream into my dream journal, or copy a gratitude entry into the gratitude journal. I also actually wrote some poetry in this and then just literally cut those pages out and pasted them into the poetry journal. Just like used glue and pasted them in there. So yeah, the Book of Whimsy has been like getting me through a rough time. And this is a really good example of when I was talking about earlier, like if you're going to have a journaling practice and it's going to be kind of complicated and ridiculous and you're going to do it for a long time, it's going to need to be very, very flexible. And this is like a good example of that. I have all these beautiful journals for various things, but I couldn't bring all of them with me, didn't want to bring all of them with me. And so I had the Book of Whimsy. And the Book of Whimsy is just sort of a stand-in for all of them when I'm away. And it's helped me a lot, actually. Like it's been good to have. So that's one reason why I would use a tiny notebook like this, is it's standing in for all these other notebooks. And I'm hoping that soon I won't be traveling as much. Things won't be quite as rough. And maybe I can like finish the Book of Whimsy and retire it. Or maybe there will be a second volume of the Book of Whimsy. I don't know. I have a bunch more blank notebooks this size. So we'll see. My voice is kind of going. I'm not sure why. I guess I've been talking too much or I'm getting sick. I don't know. The other small notebook, it's like a fashion and style. I've been thinking more about kind of having just personal style fashion, things like that, which historically has not been one of my core interests, but I've been getting more into the idea of like making my own clothes and experimenting with like learning more about historical fashion as well. And so this little notebook I'm using not because it's like easy and low maintenance to travel with, like with the Book of Whimsy. This I'm using because I'm essentially trialing. I'm trialing keeping like a fashion aesthetics appearance look kind of journal to see if I actually want to dedicate a bigger book to that kind of journal, right? So it's sort of low stakes. If I get to the end, if I fill this up and I'm like, you know what, I have no like it took me ages to finish a book this size, then I know there's absolutely no need for me to get a bigger book to work in. And if I get to the end of this book and I'm like, you know what, I have more to say, then I could upgrade to like a slightly bigger book or a much bigger book, depending on how I'm feeling. So again, being flexible with journaling. When I was younger, every time I got an idea for a new kind of journal, I would immediately get like some 300-page journal and be like, yes, wonderful. This is my new, reading journal, nature journal, whatever. And then I wouldn't use it. It would be like 15 pages full out of 300. And then I'd be ripping out the 15 pages or it would sit on the shelf forever. So now I trial in small books before I actually dedicate a bigger book to it to make sure that it makes sense. And yeah, that works for me. So little fashion style journal, Book of Whimsy. Those are the mini ones. Okay, this is what's next. And sorry if my voice is going. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's not sounding good. Let's see. Okay, I'm now sort of transitioning to like more project notebooks. So they're less journals and they're more devoted to specific projects or goals that I have. Kind of like with the travel journal I was talking about. If I have a priority of some kind, I give it a home in a notebook. That's what I'm doing here. So I'll talk about this in a minute. This is the music notebook that I mentioned when I was talking about the travel notebook. It is another Moleskine, and it's their like music style notebook. I played some instruments as a kid. I was never, like amazingly committed or anything like that. But lately, especially as I've been getting a little bit more into writing poetry, I've been reading more poetry. I've had the urge to kind of go back to music, learn more about songwriting specifically. And so this notebook, again, I knew that this was not something I was going to be able to do before the dissertation was done and before kind of the 2024 hell year ended. But I got myself this notebook just so that I would have a home to jot down ideas, jot down things I wanted to pursue later. And again, to sort of remind myself like, hey, this is a thing that you want to do when you have more time. So like the travel notebook, it's a little bit more aspirational. There's only a couple pages filled in there right now. However, I really do, now that I'm out of a PhD program, and hopefully if 2025 is better than 2024, I really want to work in this notebook more. I really want to, I've been in grad school for so long, and I want to get back in touch with my creativity outside of grad school as a non-student, and I'm excited for that. And I'm excited to spend more time on music. So that is Music Notebook. This is another notebook, but this one I'm actually using. This one's over halfway done. So this one I've been using pretty regularly, and I'm going to continue using, I would imagine. This is essentially like I call it my art progress journal. I do want to paint the cover, but I haven't been able to settle on what. Again, I feel like there's a weird pressure on it because it's like my art progress journal, so I feel like I should paint something good on the cover, and that's sort of paralyzing me, and I know that that's what's happening. So we'll see. Maybe I'll just stick stickers on the cover because that feels lower stakes. This is basically when I first started committing to keeping a sketchbook, I was only keeping 1 or 2. And so if I had lists of projects I wanted to work on, lists of things I wanted to study, lists of subjects I wanted to draw, lists of master artists I wanted to, learn about, they could all go in my sketchbook, and that was a fine place to keep them. The problem is now I'm keeping multiple sketchbooks because I'm trying to learn a few different mediums or work on a few different mediums simultaneously. And I've gotten much more serious about keeping sketchbooks lately, and so, as is my way, now I'm keeping quite a few. So that made it more complicated because then it was like, okay, where are my lists and like goals and things like that going to go? Because I have a bunch of different sketchbooks now. So I just moved them into like a kind of a standard ruled notebook. And I just like make lists of portfolio pieces I want to draw, goals for the month. I also use this. This is another place that sometimes I'll sort of write down and rank art projects that I want to work on, so that again, if I finally get creative time, just like I was talking about in the mini planner, if I finally get creative time, I don't sort of like get brain freeze and immediately feel like paralyzed and not know what to do. I have like a list of things to work on. And so yeah, art progress journal. And this I write in a fair amount because I think about drawing a lot. Even when I don't have a lot of time to draw, I'm still actively getting ideas all the time. And so I'll write it down in here. So yeah, the music notebook, I'm hoping to work in more, but the art progress notebook, like I actually work in a lot. And yeah, I'm probably going to finish it this year and start another. This is another Moleskine Cahiers. And yeah, I'll probably finish that and start a new volume this year. This is also a Moleskine. I love that. This is another, like, certain notebooks just make me really, really happy. I mean, I love all my notebooks, but some of them just make me incredibly happy. This is a newer one. So this is my research notebook. So I've finished my PhD, and I am, I don't have an academic appointment lined up at this point. That wasn't something that I didn't go on the academic job market. That's a longer story, but right now I'm sort of keeping my options open. I didn't go on the academic job market. However, I adore my research. I absolutely love my research. Like my 3 great loves, writing, visual arts, and research are like my 3 absolute great loves. I'm hoping to take a little more time for music, like I said. So this is my post-PhD, setting my own research agenda. I don't have a committee anymore. I don't have a department anymore. I am sort of free, answering only to myself, but I have this brand new shiny research degree, and I have all of these ideas for things I want to work on, mostly in the Victorian period, but also outside of the Victorian period. I adore my period. I adore the Victorians, but I have a million ideas. And so this is where I have been tracking. I don't want to show. I just have notes in here and things like that. When I get ideas, I write them on sticky notes and then I stick them in here. I have some stickers on the cover. That's from the Women's Community Center at my school. That's Stanford Arts. It's like the Arts Center. Both of these, the Arts Institute and the Women's Community Center, were both places I like to spend time when I was in grad school. This is from the San Antonio Archives Bazaar because I'm in San Antonio right now. I was at the 2023 Archives Bazaar and I loved it so much. It made me so happy. I love archival work. I love archives. So I've just filled this with things that make me happy. This is a Houston Zine Fest sticker. It's like Houston Zine Fest High School with the with the like stapler on the cover. I actually got this when I was at San Antonio Zine Fest. There was a man who presented who's involved in Houston Zine Fest, and so he passed out some Houston Zine Fest stickers. I've never been to Houston Zine Fest, but I got it at San Antonio Zine Fest. Love San Antonio Zine Fest. Love the San Antonio Archives Bazaar. I really love things that are like halfway between, you know, things that sort of straddle like the arts world, the research world, and sort of community outreach and local community archives and community organizers. And anyway, I'm sort of babbling, but that's because I love this book so much. So this is going to be sort of my headquarters for organizing my own research trajectory and setting my own goals as a researcher now that I'm done my PhD. And as you can tell, I am psyched for this book. I've been working in it. Again, I just finished my PhD, so this was another one. Like, I started keeping this before I had officially finished my PhD because I knew what was coming, and I was like, I know that I'm going to want to take my research seriously even once I leave this program and I'm not officially, you know, like affiliated with the university anymore. And so I started keeping the notebook before I like needed it. Now I'm officially out of the PhD program and this is where I'm going to be coming up with ideas. And also I have some work that I want to publish in academic journals, and I'm going to be keeping that organized. Like, I have a list in the back here of journals I would consider publishing in, and I'm not going to take it out because it might be sort of out of date, but yes, this is, love it. Very excited for it, obviously. And I'm glad that my research has a little notebook home, because that's really, again, that's sort of how I think of these journals, is like something's important to me and I've given it a home in a notebook. Speaking of which, this is my German notebook. This notebook is a long story. I recently added some stickers. I wanted to kind of jazz it up. This is a notebook that I was taking my German seriously back in 2020 and 2021. Back then, I still occasionally used spiral bound notebooks. I've now totally abandoned spiral bound notebooks because, as you can see, I work in a lot of books, and the spiral binding, if you're working in books all day, spiral binding, it gets really annoying. It like leaves spiral binding lines all over your wrists and hands and things like that. So I don't plan to use any more spiral bound notebooks after I finish up the ones that I have in rotation or have kind of waiting on my shelf. But German, I was serious about end of 2020, beginning of 2021, and I'd done study abroad in Vienna years before that. But then things got busy. I had a book under contract. I abandoned it. I was working on my dissertation, and now I'm bringing it back because I'm free. I'm liberated. I'm out of the PhD program. Dissertation's done. Book's published, and so I am back to German. Very excited, and and so this again is not really a journal. It's like a project. Let's see. Yeah, it's just a project notebook. It's just where I'm studying. I mean, this really isn't even a project notebook. It's just like what is that? A notebook for studying German. So yeah, I'm very excited. I have a lot of really fun plans. I have a lot of really creative plans for how I want to study German, and I added the stickers, and yeah, hopefully 2025 will not be as crazy as 2024. And if it's not, I really want 2025 to be the year that I kind of reclaim a lot of things that I've loved, but maybe lost touch with a little bit when I was in grad school. German is part of that. So hopefully I will be working in that notebook quite a bit. I want to finish it, and I want to move into something that's not spiral bound because I hate spiral binding. So that's how I feel about that. So we're now officially in project notebook territory. This year I really want to get back into fiction. I have some ideas for nonfiction as well. I obviously have research that I want to do, but I'm really excited to do some fiction. So this is a project notebook for probably what's my number one novel that I think I'm committed to, because I have a list of novels that I want to work on, things that I've worked on in my fiction writing, free write, and I have a bunch of projects that I've had in mind. And when I finished the PhD last month, I was sort of like, oh my God, where do I start first? I have a list of 6 novels and I don't know where to begin, and oh my God. But I think I've committed to one. Sort of a vaguely dystopian one. I'm not normally a big dystopia person, but I don't know. These days the dystopia finds you. So anyway, it's a vaguely dystopian novel. I'm excited about it. I really am. And this is the project notebook for it. So it has a tentative title, but I may change it, so I'm not going to share that. But this is the project notebook for it. So for reference, project notebooks. Let me show you the ones that I already have. Okay, right. Here are 2 project notebooks that I've used in the past that are done. This is the project notebook that went with my book, Spirit Seers and Seances. So this is my book about Victorian spiritualism. So I never did decorate this notebook. I have an idea for what I'd want to put on it, but I never got around to it. I have there's Emma Britton, who's one of the spiritualists. I just stuck a photo of her in here. But I would just keep track of stuff that I was working on. Notes, revision notes, things like that. There's some blank pages at the back, but it's basically finished. So that's what a finished project notebook for my book looks like. And then this is the project notebook for my dissertation, which I just finished. And it's another one. These are not wall of text. There's a lot of blank space because I'm writing things and crossing it out, and then I'll leave a bunch of space and I'll start a new section. So, and this one, oh yeah, I was trying to organize my, oh yeah, okay, whoa. This, unlike the other project notebook for my book, this I literally just stopped working in a week or 2 ago because I just finished my dissertation, and it's I'm getting weird waves of anxiety and emotion and stuff looking at it. This also, by the way, so this is a Moleskine. This is a Moleskine. And this is Moleskine. This one, this is the only time I've had this happen, but the band that is supposed to close around it actually broke on me, so I just cut it off and I used it without. That doesn't usually happen to me with Moleskine sketchbooks, or notebooks, but it did with this one. So yeah, so this is what my project notebooks normally look like. These I didn't decorate. I don't think I was in a decorating mood when I was working on either of these, but this is my kind of #1 novel that I'm going to be working on, and I have decorated it and I'm excited. So yeah, it's just lined inside, and it's just going to be more of what I was showing you in there. Just me taking notes and outlining and figuring things out. Project notebooks for me are always super messy because the point is not for them to be pretty at all. The point is for them to be what I need them to be so that the project moves forward. So my dissertation, my book, this book, I draft them in Word. Usually, sometimes I use Scrivener, but mostly I draft them in Word. And the point of the project notebook is that I can have it open on my desk while I'm typing in Word, and I can make notes in there. And it's just, like I said, it's kind of whatever I need to write. Sometimes I'll do it almost journal style. I'll write a paragraph before I actually start working on the manuscript to say okay, here's where we are. Morale is good. Last week I wrapped up an important chapter. This week I'm starting a new chapter. I feel like I know what to do. Yay. Or sometimes it'll be more morale is really low. I feel stuck. I'm just going to try to write 500 words. That's all I need to do. Just write 500 words, see how it goes. So sometimes I'm sort of almost journaling in these, just kind of talking about the project. Sometimes if you're feeling stuck, if you write a few hundred words or 50 words even in your notebook, just saying okay, here's the deal, here's how things are going, here are the issues I'm facing, it can sort of loosen you up, and then it's easier to actually write in the manuscript. So yes, this I hope to work in a lot because I really want to write more fiction this year. I really do. I want a little, I'm excited to do research, I'm excited for some nonfiction, but I really want more fiction this year for sure. So I'm very excited to work in this notebook. This is another Moleskine Cahiers. So it's this light color, and it's been hanging out with a red notebook I'm going to show you in a minute, and apparently they've exchanged pigment. But anyway, this is for a historical fiction that's actually about the Victorians. So this is a dystopian fantasy kind of thing. This is historical fiction about the Victorians. I sort of originally thought this was going to be my #1 book for the year, but then I don't know, this one just sort of came in, and all of a sudden, just in the last month, I know what I need to do for this project. So I'm going to be working in this too, but I don't think I'm going to be working as much. And so it's good that this is, I didn't plan it this way, but it's good that this is a bigger notebook with more pages, because I do think I'm going to do more work in this. That being said, we'll see. Who knows? My voice is really going. Okay, this is a folder thing that I got when I was 14 that I thought was going to be so useful to keep in my bag. It was not. It was incredibly bulky. It is actually useful for one thing, and that's I have a massive world building project. So this is a fantasy fiction world building project that I have been working on and off for years. And it's not, I want to work on it this year. I don't have any illusions that I'm going to finish anything associated with it this year because it's huge. Like, I love world building. I don't do it as much as I used to, but when I was like 14, 15, 16, 14 to like 21 or 22, one of my number one things to do, sometimes even more than writing or reading, was world building. I just loved like making maps, setting up a magical universe, like almost D&D style, like world building, fantasy world building. So I keep everything associated with this project in here. There are a few things in here. There's, okay, so there's another project notebook. This is the red one. And it's actually the sequel. So I'm on volume 2. This is the first project notebook that I had associated with this project. It's a spiral bound. It's like 140 pages and it's totally full. I've got the title covered. But it's totally full and it's beat up. This is volume 2. You can see I switched from the spiral bound to the cahiers, which are a lot more expensive, by the way, so it's not really that clever. It's sort of a dubious financial decision, but it is a lot easier on my wrist, so that's nice. So it's another Moleskine cahiers. I'm not very far into it. This volume's finished. This one is sort of new. I will be working in it this year. This is just an empty planner. One of my ways of world building is like I want to fill up this planner. There's a specific year that this fiction project, like the fiction part of this project, because the thing about this project is it's like a world building project, a visual art project, and a fiction project, right? So I'm building a world, I'm illustrating it, and I'm writing it. And so it's very, there's just a lot going on. That's why I say I have no illusions that I'm gonna like finish any part of it this year, because it's just like a monster. I don't think it was designed to be finished. I think it's just a thing that I'm gonna do until I die. But anyway, one of my plans with this is just a totally empty planner. There's a specific year that one of the main stories I'm writing in this universe takes place, and I was going to sort of fill up this planner for one of my main characters as though like it was her planner while she was at school this year that all of this stuff happens. So I wanted to literally go through and like fill in every day like what she was doing and what classes she went to and like what happened. And I thought it would be like a really fun way to sort of build out her character and also build out the universe and also just have a really strong sense of the chronology, I don't know why I said that weird, the chronology of that year. So it's obviously totally empty. I'm not planning to work on this year. This project is so huge that a lot of times like I don't even know where to start because I'm just like everything. Like I need to draw everything, I need to plan everything, I need to build everything, and I need to write everything. And I'm never sure which one to do first. But I adore it. It's one of the projects of my heart, and I'm certainly not abandoning it this year. So yeah, I have this ongoing project notebook for that. And this is the sketchbook that's associated with the project. It's a mixed media. What is it? It's a Strathmore mixed media, the soft cover. These are very popular with artists, and I really, really like them. I will say the covers are insane. Like if you like frown at this cover, it will develop like massive welts. It like, yeah, like you hit it with your fingernail once and so the covers are not resilient. The paper's great. Love the paper. They lay flat, which is really nice. So this is the sketchbook associated with this project. So I've got like the project notebook that's like ruled, lined, volume 1. Now I'm on volume 2. The sketchbook I started relatively recently. So the project notebook obviously has been going on for a while because I finished an entire volume. I've also got all this loose leaf stuff down here and more loose leaf stuff in here. So I have files on my computer associated with this project. So there's a lot associated with this project. But the project notebook, I'm on volume 2, so I've been keeping it for a while. This volume is relatively new, but that volume's full. The sketchbook is a kind of a newer edition, and I've only done a couple of pages in it. But I'm excited to work more in this. I'm not setting like really hard goals with relation to this project because like I said, it kind of is what it is. It's its own animal. It does what it wants to do. I only like nominally am in control of any of it. So yeah, but this is last project notebook and first sketchbook. This is the first sketchbook I'm talking about in the video, and they all go in here because they're all associated with each other. So, okay, on to sketchbooks, and then we're done. Hi everyone. So that was part 2 of my massive 2025 journal, planner, and sketchbook lineup video. Part 1 covered my planners, bullet journal, and some of my writing journals, and that video should be linked on screen or down below. Part 3, the last part, will be published within a few days of this video's release, and it covers 11 more of my sketchbooks. If you found this video interesting and you'd like to see more like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching!